Hello everybody and welcome to Jade Astro Healing. On this channel I like to discuss different ways that we can heal, whether that be through spirituality, through music, multiple different ways, and throughout the channel as it grows there will be a lot of different segments and a lot of different ways to heal, as well as regular segments that, kind of help us grow in certain ways of healing that I resonate with personally. And I thought, what better way to start rather than a tarot reading? Especially since with everything that's going on in the world right now, the world needs healing. And so I decided to sit down. I asked Spirit, the universe, my guides, ancestors, everybody who guides me and walks with me to sit me down and give me the messages that the world needs to hear. The collective, healing as a collective. How can we heal as a collective? What can we do to heal as a whole and on individual scales that will help the healing as a whole? So I asked those questions, and I have the cards that I pulled sitting in front of me. And so I'm just going to be pulling them one by one and discussing them. All right, everybody. The first card that I pulled was the Four of Cups in reverse. Now, this is talking about the fact that there has been an abundance of opportunities in all of our personal lives and as well as over the world as a collective, for us to heal and for us to have the opportunities to heal. There's been an abundance of opportunities and ideas that have given us the chance to heal, and we have chosen to ignore each and every one of these. So the first message is essentially just saying that we need to take advantage of the opportunities we've already been presented with, and run with those and really see them to their fullest potential, because if we don't try, we'll never know. Okay, everybody, our next card is going to be this Page of Wands in reverse, and this is communicating the fact that we have not only had an abundance of opportunities and ideas presented to us to change and to better the world, but really the only thing that's holding us back is a lack of wanting to try, a lack of wanting to really work for these changes. And honestly, we've been presented with creative ideas that would work for many across the board, but the fact is we don't even want to try enough to put most of these to the test. Most of the things that we've been presented with that could heal the world as a whole and each of us as individuals, we refuse to put the effort into it for it to actually make a difference. And so we give up very quickly because we see small ones that we put to test, or a couple here and there, and we spend money on it as a government or as a person in your own life, and you don't see the results right away. And the fact is that we're gonna have to work for it. So we can't look at that as a barrier anymore. So the next card that I pulled was this Nine of Wands in reverse. This Nine of Wands in reverse means that we are tied to our shadows. We are so tied to the battles of the past that we refuse to open up to and accept the fact that our world has changed. Our world is ever changing and has changed. And we base all of our decisions as a community and as a whole, and as people that work together or just ourselves, off of the past, and whether or not what we're experiencing now is better than what the past was. And what we really need to do is stop judging our current experience in the world on the past experiences of the world. Like, yes, history tends to repeat itself. However, we have seen too much change to keep thinking like that. We have seen too much change in this world, too many people willing to actually stand up and fight for the right things for us to keep thinking like that. If we want a new beginning, we really have to start thinking about this as a full, fresh start, new beginning. Now, the next card is this Three of Swords in reverse, which is actually really interesting because it ties really well into the last card, that Nine of Wands in reverse, because it talks more about battles from the past, but not only battles from the past are we looking at, more so than the battle wounds in this card. A lot of us are so stuck on these battle wounds, we can't let them go. And a lot of the reason for that is because most of us refuse to acknowledge our part in these wounds from the past. We have all been hurt. We have definitely gone through some stuff. However, a good portion of us refuse to acknowledge that most of what we've gone through, or at least a good portion of what we've gone through, also we had some way to deal with it, whether it be big or small. I'm not saying that like it's all your fault or it's everybody in the world's fault and nobody's trying or anything along those lines. It's not that by any means. It's just we have to let go of this pain, and the only really way to do that is accept the situation in whole. So accept the fact that some people did maybe wrong you, or you have these wounds because of these things. However, we need to really take an honest look at how our actions affected that situation, whether it be in big or small ways. And then after that, we need to realize that maybe some of our pain could be guilt that we carry from inflicting pain on another person. A lot of us carry pain around with us on our shoulders, and we feel it in our hearts, and we walk around with it, but we don't understand why it's there. And a lot of times when you've done a lot of digging and you're trying to find an external reason, an external source why you're hurting so bad, the really important thing is to look to yourself and see if maybe it's your own actions that are causing you pain, because deep down you know that you've done wrong. And it's okay to admit that. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is saying that in order for us to heal as a whole, as a collective, on individual levels, we have to acknowledge our spot in whatever we went through. And that's not easy to hear, especially for people who have been through a lot. But we have to sit down and acknowledge that, or we will not fully heal. Now, the next card that I pulled is this Three of Wands in reverse. Now, this one is pretty significant, and actually is where this message starts to become hopeful, because genuinely what it's talking about here is that these battle wounds that we were just discussing, and these battles that we've been through, and these things that we've been through, and this shadow work that we have to do, could leave us feeling a little pessimistic about the world, about ourselves, about our future as a whole on individual levels. It could definitely leave us feeling a little down, a little pessimistic, but we have to stop being so pessimistic about our potential genuinely as a whole. I mean, there are so many arguments of positive changes not being realistic, and really that's what's holding us back. We have to take precautions, obviously, because we have to take practical steps, because that's just the way life works. It's the way that making changes works. You have to take practical steps. However, we have to understand that healing as a collective, because of how big of a job this is and how many options we have available to us, with the abundance of options we have available to us to fix it, this isn't something we can have completely mapped out. So yeah, we're gonna jump into things. We're gonna have to pull a fool sometimes, and the fool, being one of the major arcana cards, we're gonna have to pull one of those, take a leap of faith. But the important thing is that we go at it with the right intentions, because if we go at it with the right intentions, things tend to work out. I mean, genuinely, like we were talking about before, the world has changed, and look how far we've come. Like, yes, there is much work to be done. There is so much more healing that this world needs to do. But think about the way the world was 100 years ago, and think about how far we've come now. We can do this. We cannot limit our potential based on realistic, because I can bet you 100 years ago, no one thought what is in the world now was realistic. So we have to understand that that can't be a limitation anymore. We're limiting ourselves by limiting our beliefs and by limiting our intentions and what we do with those intentions, because we feel the need to have things completely mapped out. Now, the next card I pulled was the Moon in reverse, and this one was really special to me because when I pulled it, I didn't feel like the general meaning of the card was enough. There was a message that needed to come through, so I sat down and I meditated, and I drew a protective circle, pulled out my crystals and everything like that, and I really asked the universe to channel a message through me. I mean, I did with all of the cards, but this one felt extremely significant. So what I'm going to be relaying to you is the message that I was given, but please just listen with an open mind. So this is the Moon in reverse. Now, the message that I was given in regards to this is how many people across how many different religions, cultures, and backgrounds, and family types, and skill levels do we have to acknowledge the fact that there is something beyond conscious thought for us to accept it? Now, I'm not saying you have to call it God, or you have to call it the universe, or you have to call it spirits, or you can call it any of those things. You can call it just your subconscious mind. I mean, psychologists have a word for it as much as religious leaders do, but we have to acknowledge this. We can't stop living our lives or having a good portion of the population live their lives as if that doesn't exist. This is something that not only does it exist, but it is vital for us to get in touch with. When was the last time you took a deep breath, you sat down and you quieted your mind, and you really asked yourself how you felt about something important to you, without judging the answers that came to you, without holding back answers or questioning the answers? When was the last time you sat back, you took a deep breath, and you saw and truly felt how you felt, how your soul was feeling, how your subconscious mind was feeling, whatever you want to call it? But we need to connect with that, because if we can't connect with that, then we can't take the messages that are a whole different type of message. I mean, even psychologists take away the religious part of it or the spiritual part of it. Psychologists and therapists constantly recognize that our subconscious mind does most of the work for us. And so it's listening to that is important. And so this is something that across the board we need to understand, that we need to listen to, and we need to stop being lazy about it, and we need to actually take the time, sit down, and ask the questions honestly. And I'm sure you know what questions I'm talking about, because your subconscious mind is probably already telling you. But the point is, we need to listen. All right, and the next card that I pulled was the Aid of Pentacles, and I feel like that really honestly follows the theme of all of this, and that this is going to take hard work. This is going to take determination. It's going to take hard work, and the only way to ensure success in this is to stay on track with our progress and determination. And not only that, but be patient with ourselves and others, and be okay with acknowledging our successes and taking time to acknowledge and appreciate and celebrate those. This is on a large and an individual scale as a whole. I mean, we need to understand that, like I said, this is going to take time. This is not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. And nitpicking every little mistake that every single individual person makes is not going to help this healing as a whole. Now, that's not to say that people shouldn't take accountability for their actions if they haven't changed, or they shouldn't take accountability for their actions, period. I mean, this is important. It's part of shadow work, is dredging up the old stuff to heal it and to bring it out into the open to heal it. However, being overly nitpicky about this is only going to add to the air of hate in the world, and we need to understand that everybody here on this planet is progressing and is on their journey in some way. Now, again, if somebody says or does something that's clearly wrong and they don't own up to it, then that's different. However, we have to understand that people's journeys, if everybody truly took a step back and took their inner journey, I can almost guarantee you none of us would end up where we expected. I can definitely tell you that when I was 18, I'm 22 now, when I was 18, I would have scoffed at the person that I am now, because I didn't understand. I hadn't taken that spiritual journey yet. And it's funny, before I did this reading, I actually was able to see a video that I hadn't seen of myself since I was 18, and it was my 18-year-old self venting about how I felt lost and how I felt like I didn't know where I was going to be, and how I didn't know where to even start. And now I feel that while I'm absolutely not finished with my journey, and it has taken hard work, I have come so far, and that's what this is all about, is acknowledging how far we've come, continuing to acknowledge our progress when it happens, but making sure that we are always progressing, making sure that that progress doesn't get put on a standstill or a hold or a plateau. This needs to be consistent. It needs to continue, and we have to be more kind and understanding about the way that we work hard on this. We can't be as hateful and as the word I keep hearing is attack. We just like to attack each other from each perspective, and the world needs more healing and understanding. And I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with defending yourself or standing up for yourself when you haven't been listened to. However, we cannot walk around with an attack state of mind. We have to walk around with a consistent, kind, loving progress state of mind. Otherwise, this is not going to work. Okay, the next card we pulled was a Five of Swords, and the Five of Swords is kind of related to the Three of Wands that we discussed earlier, to those old battle wounds and those old things that we've been through, but this is definitely more along the lines of the fact that we have all definitely been sit in unfair circumstances, and some at large way more than others, and that is absolutely something that we need to work on and continue to work on. However, we have all experienced unfair circumstances, and unfair circumstances can sometimes create an air of numbness. We want to be numb to the unfair circumstances. We don't want to feel or process them. We don't want to acknowledge the story that goes along with them, and that will only create another negative cycle. I mean, we're meeting negativity with negativity at that point. But if we take a step back and accept that most of the unfair experiences that we have been put through, had we looked at them as a opportunity for healing or for shadow work, or really seen the opportunity that comes with them, because I mean, I'm a full believer in no coincidences. I'm a full believer in there being um, a reason for everything that happens. And if you don't believe that way, that's okay. Um, Everybody has their own journey, and like we said, that can't always line up with each other. And so we've got to expect that in all aspects. But the point is, we refuse to acknowledge the good that happens in the bad for fear of undermining the pain that we went through. We went through pain. It's okay to acknowledge that. It's okay to feel that. But it's also okay to acknowledge that it made us grow, that it did us good, that it was important that we went through whatever thing that taught us a lesson so that we could become a stronger person. It's kind of like that cliche of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And while that is a cliche, I mean, cliches are a thing for a reason. They're around because, it's something that in general, most of the time, if explored in the right way, are truthful. And in that sense, we need to take the fear of suffering away in the world, because yes, suffering is obviously not fun. Nobody likes it. I don't like to suffer, and I regularly myself try to run away from suffering as well. But suffering is for a reason. Suffering is for growth. Suffering is for change. Suffering is for rebirth. And we're in such a rebirth period in the world right now, especially with Lionsgate happening on the 8th. It's okay to be proud of the lessons learned from your pain. And it's okay to be proud of the fact that you incorporated those lessons, or it's okay to forgive yourself for not incorporating those lessons, because we're all in different steps of our journey. And this next card is really beautiful and really hopeful, and kind of, again, brings another positive layer to this theme, because so far, we've seen a lot of hard work, a lot of shadow work. We've definitely seen some hope, but we've seen a lot of work that needs to be done, and it can seem a little overwhelming. It can seem like, well, can we actually do this? Well, the next card I pulled was the Star, which is a confirmation that we absolutely can do this. This is your God or your universe or your spirits, your guides, your deities, your ancestors, your subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it. This is sitting us down and asking us to realize that we can do this. We genuinely can heal as a whole. Now, again, this is going back to like looking at things with a negative, pessimistic view of people are thinking, well, it's impossible for the whole world to heal. Like, yeah, everybody's going to be in different parts of their journey. But overall, we absolutely can do this. We are being told that we can do this. And if we go at this, if we can be consistent, if we listen to the advice that we've been given, then we can make this work. We absolutely can make this work, and we have got to look at it that way. We're being called to look at the future with hope, with a feeling of brightness and happiness and kindness in our hearts. That's what we're being asked to look at the future with. So many of us look at the future with uncertainty. Understand that good things are coming if we would just do what we're being asked. Okay. Now, this very, very last card I pulled here is the Hierophant. And this is a card of spirituality, of religion. And I think with the moon in reverse that we had earlier, and everything else that we've been discussing, this is calling to the fact that we need to change. And obviously that's very clear in the world and in the conditions that we have, and in the things that we're still having to fight for after years of fighting for them. But change takes searching for truth. And part of searching for our truth personally, on a personal level, is finding what we believe about life, about the universe. And if you already know that, and you already have that in your heart and your soul and your mind, and you truly have done all the deep digging, and you do believe it, then that's great. However, a good portion of us will say that we have done the deep digging and still have questions that we are afraid to ask, or that we think we're not supposed to ask, or that we think we shouldn't ask because the answer won't be good, or because who knows what'll happen if we ask the question. These are the questions that you're most afraid of, the questions that we are most scared of answering as a whole and as individuals. These are the questions that we need to be asking, because these are the questions that the answers to are going to really bring us this truth that we're looking for. Ask your soul how it really feels about anything and everything under the sun. I mean, a good portion of getting to know yourself and digging and finding out what truth is for you is just finding out what you like and finding out what you don't like. But this can be in physical, in emotional and mental and in spiritual. But the point is, we sit down and ask ourselves how our soul really feels about every subject we can think about under the sun. And then take what you learn and compare it with your belief system that you currently hold. If they do not match, that is not what you believe. If the answers that you get from your soul about how you really feel about things is different than your belief system, that is not your real belief system, and you are faking it. Whether it be for family, whether it be for prestige, whether it be for friends, whether it be for personal reasons, fear of your real self, fear of what would happen if you did see this truth. But we can't, all of this work and all of this healing that we're talking about will not start until we get down to the roots of what we believe. And this also means that we need to take down the way that we think we need to structure the world as a whole. Like we learned earlier, we need to be willing to make changes, regardless of how much work it takes. So a good portion of the time, arguments for projects or for things that would better the world or for things that would better us, it's, yeah, but that would take this, and this, and then this would be harder. Okay. It's okay for some things to be harder, for better, more beautiful things to take place. That is all the messages that I'm receiving, that I have received. The universe wants us to heal. We want to heal. Whatever you believe in, or if you don't believe in anything, know that for yourself you want to heal. And if you don't, why? Ask yourself those questions. You know, there's something that each and every one of us can do to be a part in this collective healing, regardless of what stage in our spiritual journey we are. So we each need to take that responsibility extremely seriously, because if we don't make these changes, we will not have that bright future that we're being told about. And it's not that we can't. It's very clear that we can. We absolutely can. We have the tools, the resources, the abilities, the strengths. We have all of the things that we need to heal as a whole. It's just whether or not we're willing to. So, I know that was definitely a heavy message. Not all of the videos on this channel will be like this, like I said, but I just felt that this was something that I was feeling very called to pull this message, and it is a different place right now when you walk outside. And it called me to remember why we're all on this journey in the first place, and what we're all looking to, what we're all looking for. And truly what we're all looking for is happiness. And so it just felt important to me to bring a message of healing, because we can only be truly happy through healing. Healing is the only thing that will bring true happiness, because healing is the only thing that will let you know who you really are. But thank you for watching. If you have, go ahead and subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. Next video will probably be either something about music or other forms of healing that I haven't discussed yet. But we'll see. I'm very excited. Thank you for joining the family. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And stay safe, okay, you guys? Be blessed.